you will find a way to do it. And just with one idea. Here's what I learned, is you never know which idea it's going to be. You never know which idea it's going to be. So that means you have to practice, you have to use what is called the law of probability. You have to scoop a lot of ideas. Like beans, you've got to scoop. You've got to keep learning new ideas because you never know which idea it's going to be. And so you'll find that successful people are constantly learning more ideas so that they have a vast array of ideas that they can draw upon. Sometimes I have learned something, and 5 years later, a subject has come up, a critical thing with a business, with a business or with a sale, and I remember that, and I've either taught it or used it in conversation, and it's had a profound effect. It's got me a major speaking engagement. Well, it's amazing, and if I hadn't been reading, studying, and accumulating this stuff, I wouldn't have had it. So you said earlier that the most valuable asset you have is your ability to think. In life, we say that our ability to communicate is determined by the number of words that we know. There's a direct relationship in terms of income and words that you know. And they did 50 years of testing on this, and they've shown that if you just learn more words, your income goes up. And why is that? Because the more words you know, the better you can think. The better decisions you can make, the better you can analyze, the more thoughtful you are, the fewer mistakes that you make, and so on. Well, in business, it's yes.
Has there been a study about number of languages? Like if you learn 3 languages, the same word in 3 languages, is that 3 words or is that 1 word 3 times? Just curious.
I'm a student of languages, so I can't answer that question. But what happens when you learn languages as an adult is your brain opens up a whole new department. When you learn languages as a child, all your languages are learned in one center. Where when you learn languages after the age of 12, your brain like opens up a new room for this language. And what it does is it activates more of your neurons and it makes you smarter.
Cool. Okay, thank
It's
you.
the most amazing thing. So sometimes I will go through the same thing. I'll go through the same word in 4 languages. And it's amazing because it activates electrons, which makes you smarter in other areas. I say it's like running through a darkened house, turn on light switches. Yes, you turn on the light switches in your brain. So the more words that you know, by the way, just learning another language makes you far smarter in everything else you do. So if you decided to become fluent in Spanish, you'd find your sales income would double. Simply because you're smarter, you're quicker, your brain works faster. It doesn't seem to have any direct connection. But I noticed this in myself as I began to intensely study languages, and then I began to read the research on it. They say it's really quite remarkable. So learning languages later in life, after your teens, has an incredible effect on making you a smarter person. It's like working out with your muscles, they become stronger. You're working out with your brain becomes stronger. So my final point, I just mentioned this, is that by learning new skills, you never know which skill it's going to be, so you have to do it on a regular basis. So what we do is we teach what is called the 1% factor. And the 1% factor is dedicate yourself to investing 1% of your time into yourself and becoming better. 1% of each day is 14 minutes. The programs on iLearning Global are all designed, so they're very practical programs, and they're all usually about 10 or 12 minutes. So if you go to your computer, turn it on, pump it up. They have one of the best speakers in the world. We have speakers on management, business success, tax strategies, sales, personal development, relationships, health. Any subject you want to learn, we call it just-in-time learning. Any subject that you want to learn, you go there, you pull it up, and you can watch it in about 10 to 12 minutes. So if you were just simply to learn one lesson each day, and then think of how you could apply that lesson that day, there's a direct relationship between how quickly you apply something you learn and how quickly you own that material. If you learn something today and don't apply it for a week, you'll lose it. But if you learn it this morning, instead of surfing the internet and reading spam email and so on, if you just learn something this morning and practice it today, then you will own that material. You'll add a new quiver, a new arrow to your quiver. You'll have expanded your success vocabulary by a new skill because it's deliberate practice. And this is the key. This is the key to the future: is to deliberately learn and practice the skills that you need to expand your skill set, your ability to get results. And by doing that, you take your income onto an upward trajectory. Now, one last point. The research is great in this. The 80-20 rule. What they found is that, and Gary Becker, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, did an article in the Wall Street Journal recently, and he called it, they talk about the income gap in America. The income gap is one of the reasons why we have so many political changes going on, whatever, politics. But the income gap in America, he said there's no such thing, there's no income gap. He says there's a skills gap. He says the difference is not income, the difference is skills. he said people with skills that are in demand are earning more and more money. People who are not upgrading their skills, or who do not have skills that are in demand, aren't earning more money. And so we looked at the 80-20, and the statistics are that people in the bottom 80%, their income goes up at an average of about 3% per annum. 3% per annum, as you know, is the rate of cost of living increases and so on. However, rate of inflation. However, at 3% per annum, you never get ahead. You have what is called a job, J-O-B, which stands for just over broke. And people are just over broke, and they never get ahead. And these people vote for the party that says, if you vote for me, I'll take the money away from people who are earning the money, I'll give it to you. That's why they say, hey, vote for me, and I'll take the money away from the productive, the ones that are constantly upgrading their skills. So what Gary Becker found was the top 20% of people increase their income at an average of 11% per annum. And these are invariably the learners. The learners who are constantly getting better at what they do, their income is going up at an average of 11% per annum. Now, if your income goes up at 3% per annum, you'll never get out of debt. And that's the great problem. And if you get into debt, then you go bankrupt. As people go bankrupt in America on credit card debt at the rate of 1 to 2 million people a year, and even more today, because they can't get out of debt, because they never get ahead. People, if you're making 11% average, now if you get into the top 10%, your income is going up at 20 to 25% per annum. Just take the average of the top 20%, 11%. That means your income will double every 6.5 years. So if you're continually learning, spending a little bit of time every day learning and growing, from 20 to 26 and a half, your income will double. From 26 and a half to 33, your income will double. And if it doubles, then and it doubles again, then you have the miracle of compounding. The miracle of compounding is quite incredible. By the time you're 40 or 50, you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year. Now why? It's because your income's going up about 11% per annum. And this is verifiable statistics. And if you want to be financially successful, there is no other way. I say this, and I'll turn this over to you, Jeff. I say this, is that there's only 3 ways that you can become financially independent in America. Number 1 is you can win the lottery. And 64% of Americans believe the only way that they're going to become financially independent is if they win the lottery. And they believe in the lottery. They buy lottery tickets, and the poorer they are, the more money they spend proportionally on lottery tickets. Because basically, a lottery ticket is an exclamation of desperation. They think it's the only way out. The second way, and by the way, you're not going to win the lottery. The odds of winning the lottery are the odds of being struck by lightning twice in the same place 2 years apart. Not very high. Second of all, you can have an unknown relative in a distant place that dies and leaves you a whole bunch of money. And it ain't going to happen. The third way that you become financially independent is you have to earn it. And the only way that you can earn it in America is by becoming good at what you do and becoming continually better. And so if you join iLearning Global for $80 a month, $79.95 a month, what you do is you have 24/7 unlimited access to more than 150 of the best speakers, trainers, consultants, advisors, experts in the world, constantly mainlining critical practical skills that you can use, just-in-time learning that you can use to get better and better and better. And there's no limit to how much better you can get. And the most amazing thing is we've had people watch one video and go out and double their income within 30 days because it was the right subject, it was the right material, it was something they didn't know, and they applied it. And so that being said, if you are really concerned about your future, there's only one way we can get out of these financial traps, by becoming good at what we do, getting paid really well, and holding on to the money. Sorry I had to bring that up. But you have to hold on to the money this time. You can't piss it away. All right? You've got to become a high income earner. You've got to get into the top 20%. And when you make the money, then you've got to hold on to it and invest it carefully. There's lots of good investments in distressed real estate right now. So I'd like to turn this back over to Jeff, and Jeff will explain to you that if you do become a member of iLearning Global, there are other opportunities and possibilities as well. So thank you very much for listening.